it's me. Thanks very much, Andy. Right, okay. It's warm in here. It's all these lights. That was a good show of Andy's, actually. In fact, I've just nicked a load of material off him. From both him and some things that were said in the chat room. But we'll get to that. Coming up on tonight's show, we've got the final part of the Battle of the Tanks. And that's bad, not good, you know. And then I'll be taking a look at these things, which are... Well, this is a box, obviously. But in it are these dual coil cartomizers, which we've been reading a bit about. I had to know, so I acquired some. And I've had a good look at those this week. So I'll be telling you what I think of those. But as is customary, let's start with the titles. Hi, this is Dave. Just does what it says on the tin. Right, here we go then. Is it me or is this room leaning at a slight angle? I think we may adjust the camera a bit there. I suppose that's what you get when you put a cloth on top of things. Or it could be the monitor. That'll do. That'll do for you lot. Right, okay. Right, to answer the first question that I've picked up on tonight, no, I'm not wearing makeup. I have a new light because I've had problems with lighting that has made the camera pixelate over the last couple of weeks. This may stop the pixelating. I don't know. I won't know until I watch the playback. All I can see is the live preview. But it does mean that I sort of shine a bit, and as the night goes on and that light heats me up even more, I'll probably perspire more and then I'll reflect more, and yeah. It's the things we do for you because we love you. I was watching Andy's show there, and that was really good actually, and I picked up on a couple of comments that were made in the chat room and a couple of things that Andy said as well. He was talking about his favourite devices, and I thought he was going to go for the Silver Bullet as his first choice, as I know a lot of people in the chat did. And it was quite interesting actually, because when he went for the excuse me, the Tornado and Ego, first of all I thought, oh right, and then I realised actually that what he said is it's exactly the same for me. I take a mod with me, whether if I'm going in the car or if I'm going to work or I'm working at my desk or what have you. But I'll always have one of these in my bag or in my pocket. If I'm going walking, this is always the backup. In fact, I've started using these, now we've got these 2mm tanks, I've started using these whilst I'm walking as well, because you get quite a long way on 2mm. And an extra tank is just nothing to carry, so you know, sort of they're light, they're pocketable, and the best thing about them is these 5-tap batteries. You've seen the ones where you tap it 5 times and it flashes and then that's off. So I can now put that in my pocket without Andy doing what he did to his Gigi. So if you turn it on, that is, it works. But yeah, I saw as well some people on the subject of the tanks, rather than when we talk about the Ego or the Tornado, what we're really talking about, of course, is the battery. You know, you can stick any cartomizer, atomizer you like on these things. That's what makes it a tank, the atomizer. The tank atomizer and the tank itself. This is one of the bucket ones, or mega, I think Totally Wicked call them. But and he was saying that he's had sort of poor experiences with Reavers. I haven't, as it happens. I've still got the original Reaver that I bought back last September, and I don't use it very often anymore. But it's not showing any signs of sort of wimping out or anything like that. So, but it does bring up an interesting question. I've been sort of tracking some comments, people talking about poor performance of egos and stuff like that. And one of the comments I noticed in the forum there was about the Bowway, and somebody referred to it as a Bowway Ego T. Well, Ego is a model made by Joy, and the Ego made by Joy is also sold as the Tornado by Totally Wicked. And there's a lot of egos suddenly appeared on the UK market, and I've noted Bowway, at least they're selling it as a separate system called the iTank. I've got one somewhere. I reviewed it a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure if I've got it to hand. Yeah, that's a Bowway iTank. Now I found that did leak a bit after a little bit of usage. It works better with a proper Ego tank in it. So I don't know whether that's something the guy that was complaining about leaks has tried. It might help. I've been thinking about sort of trying to research this, but I'm not sure how easy it would be to do. There's reading between the lines from a couple of the suppliers on forums, and there's a suggestion that some of these things that have been sold as egos are not actually made by Joy. Now, given the Chinese sort of reluctance to observe copyright, shall we say, it isn't beyond the realms of possibility that there are egos out there that are not made by Joy, and I wonder if that contributes to some of the problems. That said, I know that Totally Wicked have recognised that there have been problems with leaks to the extent that they've changed the caps on these tanks and what have you. But I've had now 2 standard tank atomizers, a couple of low resistance ones, and then this one mega one, and I've not had a problem with leaks. And I'm popping cartridges in and out of these all the time, and I've never had a single issue with leaks. So I wonder if a lot of the ones that we're hearing about, I'm not casting aspersions or pointing the finger at anyone, but maybe they're proper Joy ones. Maybe, don't know. Anyway, enough of that. Oh yeah, the other thing I picked up from Andy's show there was talk of the Cisco 2 ohm atomizers. Well, you may recall that last week I'd kind of billed that I was going to have a bit of a moan, but then I ran out of time and didn't. I'm glad I didn't, because I was going to moan about Cisco 2 ohm atomizers, because I'd had a couple that had just packed up within sort of a minute of connecting them to my device. I'd had one work really well, one work for a couple of days, and 2 just die within like a minute of connecting them to the GGTS. Unlike Andy, I managed to get one working really well in the UFS, and it is absolutely sublime. Honestly, it is just a proper low resistance, a 1.5 or a 1.7 ohm atomizer can't wick the juice fast enough to avoid burning. But the 2 ohm ones, if you get them working, they're sublime. Anyway, I'm glad I didn't have the moan, because obviously I got them from Toby, who, as far as I know, is the only person that sells the Cisco 2 ohms in the UK. And I had a moan at him during the week, and he just said, oh, they're dead on arrival, and sent me a couple of replacements for the ones that had died. And I put the one straight in, and I've been using it for 3 or 4 days, and it working a treat. So I'm glad I didn't have a moan. But so that's good. That's good news. That's good news. Anyway, so tonight then I'm going to be taking a look at these dual coil cartomizers, which is hard to say actually, because I keep going to say dual core, but that's like something totally different. But if I have at any point said dual core in this video and forgotten to edit it out, I meant coil. You know what I mean. Let's start it with a sting. Now, I'm going to show you the VT, which I think is fairly self-explanatory, but you'll notice that there's a pattern. I'm going in a certain direction with this review. and it gets to a point almost towards the end where it suddenly cuts away, and then I come back on a completely different day in a different room with different clothes on to do an update, because I changed my mind. You'll see. And if you like that music that I opened the show with, you're in luck, because you're about to hear a lot more of it. I had something new arrive yesterday in the post. And so far I've resisted the temptation to open things up and try them out until I had a chance to get the camera out. What it was this white box here, which, as you can see, contains 1.5 ohm dual coil cartomizers. Now, I've seen a couple of YouTube reviews on these. Some people say they're great, some people say, well, they're nothing special, but I bought them from mistyliquid.co.uk, which I shall put on the screen, for a cost of £8.79 including postage. I thought I'll give them a go. That's for a box of 5. Interestingly, on the box it says 1.5 ohms plus or minus 0.2 ohms, so it could be 1.3, it could be 1.7, but at least it's nice to be told that there might be some variation. I thought what I'd do is compare to an equivalent Bose cartomizer, the kind that we all know and trust. So we've got some kind of reference point, and I'm going to use a screwdriver, a Mark 1 screwdriver, as the device to test them on. So inside the box you get five sealed cartos. As you can see, I haven't opened any of them yet. I have not cheated. And here, as I say, I've got a standard Bose low resistance cartomizer to compare to. So what I thought I'd do is I'll try the Bose, which is a bit of a known quantity, remove it from the package, remove the condoms off the end, and I always fill them by putting the juice in the smaller of the condom caps and pressing the battery connector end down, and that juice will be pushed up inside the cartomizer, and then when you get towards the bottom you should be able to see the juice coming up through the hollow centre and spreading out across the wadding inside. I'll give that a little wipe down, and then drop a few drops around the top evenly to make sure that the wadding is properly moist and evenly dispersed, and then I'll blow out any excess. And what I do then is I insert a 510 drip tip into the top of the carto, and that's ready to use. So onto the screwdriver, and as you can see, that works lovely. Get good flavour from it. So that's something that I know very well. This juice, battery, and cartomizer combination I've used on and off for, well, pretty much since I started vaping 9 months ago. Now, one thing I did forget to do there, but it's not too late. I'm going to meter the resistance of this cartomizer because we are doing a comparison. And that's metering out at 2.3 ohms. Yeah, and that's a very pleasant vape. So let's have a look now at the 1.5 ohm, give or take 0.2 ohms, dual coil cartomizer. Doesn't want to come out of the packet. There we go. So usual condom ends. Get those off. Now the first thing I notice is that it's physically a bit bigger than the regular Bose cartomizer. Diameter appears to be exactly the same. The threads look like they came off the same machine. Very similar indeed. I guess the extra length is to make room for the extra coil. So I'm going to fill this in the same way as I normally do. I'm expecting though that I'm going to have to put more in through the top part to fill it up. So out with the trusty paper clip. I'll fill that up about 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to go with this one. It looks like it can hold a fair bit. Let's find out. So exactly the same process. Going to push down, nice and slowly. Give the chance for the juice to be absorbed into the filler material. And it looks like there's plenty more to go in there. I can't see. It seems to have absorbed most of that. There's nothing coming up through the centre, but we know it's gone in there, or at least most of it has. Some of it has oozed out the side. The screwdriver's just rolled off. So yeah, a little bit got spilled there, but plenty went in. But I can't see any juice at all at the top. The cartomizer, it's still sort of nice and dry and white. So what I'll do is I'll drop through the top now. And what I tend to do is to tilt the cartomizer slightly so that the juice runs down the side, because if you've not used this type of cartomizer before, you might not be aware that if you get juice down the hole, that's where the coils are. And that gets heated rather quickly, and it can cause the things to bubble and erupt hot liquid into your mouth. Now, I've never been badly scalded or anything doing that, but it's not a pleasant experience. So that's why I tend to blow off as much of the excess juice as I can when filling a carto. There's quite a bit more juice going in there. The filler's still absorbing it, so I'll keep adding it until it starts to pool on the top. Of course, once you've filled the carto up initially, then it's a lot less hassle to keep it topped up when you're using it. It's just that initial fill that tends to take all this faff. I think it's still absorbing. There we go, that seems to be pooling a bit on the top now, so I'm going to do exactly the same as I did with the other one and just blow off any excess, especially anything that's gone down that centre tube that might boil. I still think that can take more. It is still absorbing juice. Just add in 2-3 drops at a time, and then waiting for it to absorb down into the filler, and it still is. Well, I've totally lost track of how much juice has gone into this cartomizer at this stage, but I'm guessing somewhere close to a couple of millilitres by now. Not really scientific, I know, but there's plenty in there. I've blown off the excess, and I shall insert the 510 drip tip as before. And I will now attach to the screwdriver as before. That seems to be working. Now I'm actually quite excited about this. I've no idea what I'm about to experience. Let's find out. Right, well, as you can see, it does fundamentally work. The draw on it seems a bit tighter than on the Bose low resistance. I think the throat hit is a little bit better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set both cartomizers up on different devices so I can do a direct comparison. Right, so we have the dual coil cartomizer on the Mach 1 screwdriver, and we have the old school Bose low resistance cartomizer on a Mark II screwdriver with a 901 to 510 adapter. But they should be pretty comparable. Let's see. Let's go with the dual coil first. Well, as you can see, you're getting plenty of vapour off that. It's very reasonable vape. It's quite pleasant. It's good flavour. No complaints with that. I could live with that quite happily. Throat hit, comparable. But the flavour is better on this one at the moment. Right, so straight out of the packet, the traditional low resistance cartomizer seems to be performing better than the dual coil. So what I'll do is I'll break off filming for a while. I'll go and use these both for a couple of hours, see if there's a breaking in period or anything for the dual coil, and I'll report back shortly. See you in a bit. Right, well, here I am. It's about an hour later than when you last saw me, and I was getting a bit annoyed and a bit frustrated with this dual coil cartomizer because it was so wimpy. It didn't break in as I'd hoped. So I just thought, just on the off chance, and I swapped it onto the Mark II screwdriver, and it became a completely different animal. So what I've done is I've gone and got a freshly charged Mark 1 screwdriver battery. It looks as though the battery I had in it wasn't performing as well as it might. So I have now put a fresh battery in there, and all of a sudden it's performing much better than it was. Let's compare them directly and see how they perform now that everything's working properly. That'll be better, Dave. So with the known quantity, the old school, if you like, LR Bose 510 cartomizer, you can see there tons of vapour. The flavour's really good for a cartomizer. As I say, I use these for months. I like them, and it's a cracking reference point. Now let's see how this is faring now. Now it's on an equal footing battery wise. As you can see, it's improved over what you saw before. One thing I noticed with the draw is really quite tight compared to the others. The flavour's good, but it's not as good as the the traditional style cartomizer. It isn't. I've used the same juice. And the flavour is definitely better on this, and I think the vapour production is as well. But what I'm going to do, just to be doubly sure, is I'm going to put it on the same device. That's a bit better. That's a bit better. There's something different between the two screwdrivers that's affecting the way they perform. You can hear it's sizzling away better on this device. I'm a little bit disappointed in the sense that I'm not sure what I was expecting from a dual coil. I guess I was expecting a bit more throat hit, and as I say, it's not lacking, it's just not noticeably different really. It's certainly no better than the other one. I'll continue to use this over the next couple of days, and I'll report back during the live show on Sunday evening, but right now at this moment in time I don't see it being anything special. I suppose one thing it's definitely got going for it is its high capacity. You've got a lot more juice in it, so it should theoretically need filling up a bit less often. But I'll let you know when I see you on Sunday during my show. Well, not long after I did the last recording, I decided to stick the dual coil cartomizer onto this Silver Bullet with an 18650 battery. Not straight away, but pretty shortly afterwards it kind of kicked in. So whether that's down to the battery or whether there is some kind of breaking in period with these things, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that it has now come to life, and now I can see what the fuss has been about. Tons of vapour, the flavour's really improved, and right now I'm thinking these are a very good thing. But as I say, it's early Sunday at the moment. I shall talk more about the dual coil cartomizers from mistyliquid.co.uk on my show later tonight. But right now I'm thinking these are a good thing. If you're currently using the Bose cartomizers, you might want to check these out. Thanks for watching. Well, there you go. Well, I've turned my mic up a bit, so if it's now like sort of booming, let me know and I'll knock it back down. It's a bit of a delicate balance. If I do things like you'll notice. Excellent, excellent. Still a bit quiet. Turn your volume up. Right, okay, so yeah, just to add what I was going to add to that, I think pretty much summed everything up. I was initially a bit disappointed. As soon as I put it on the trusty old Silver Bullet with a nice freshly charged battery, it still took a little while to sort of break in, which is not something I'm accustomed to. I've seen that with atomizers. But with cartomizers, they normally just work, you know, to their optimum straight out of the packet, but this didn't for some reason. But once it got going, I've been very pleased with it. I've been using it all day. So. You can see that is working really nicely. The flavour's good. It is very similar to the regular low resistance Bose cartomizers. So if you buy your cartomizers from iVapor or Cloud9, I know Liberty Flight sell them. I think e-cig Wizard do. The ones that look like this, they're genuinely Bose, Bogue, Boog, whatever you want to call them. I call them Bose, and they're very comparable. But of course, these are going at 2.3 ohms. These are going at 1.5 ohms. I'm not sure what the significance of that will be, especially since there's two in there. But I like them, and I think I'm starting to prefer them to these for the simple reason you get about twice as much juice in them. I reckon I've probably got about 2 mil in there. So you know, next one I'll try and be a bit more precise and let you know just how much I've got in there, which makes it comparable to this. And the flavour is better in this than that. So, a bit more faff to fill them up. Not going to last as long. But I got 5 of those for £8.79, including delivery. Those are cheap. So, see how long they last. This one's been going 2 and a bit days at this point. So, I daren't open up the calculator and work out the per unit cost of these for the simple reason my CPU is trotting along at 90-something% already, and I daren't touch the computer. One thing that I noticed there in the chat as that was going along was the comment about how I fill up the cartomizers, and I did it with both. And there's a point I want to make on that as well about the dual coil specifically. But the reason I fill up with the battery connector is dead simple, because I'm not sure if there's a right and wrong way. I'd say it's probably about 50-50. When you see YouTube videos or see people posting on forums or even read the vendor instructions for cartomizers, a lot of people say put the mouthpiece end in. And about an equal number, I reckon, say put the battery end in. And the reason I do it, and I thought, why not? I'll demonstrate, because this one needs a bit of a top up. So if I switch to the magic, what the hell's going on over there, camera view, you can see that one is a little bit dry. You can just see a few little spots of juice left on it. It's actually not empty. It's just the top that's dried out a bit, but so I won't fill it up like as though it were new. But I thought, why not? This being sort of cutting edge television and all that, why not stick a few drops in? And I'll show you why I do it this way, because I've tried it both ways, and they both sort of fundamentally work, I suppose. But let's like I say, I won't put too much juice in because there's already some in there. But the reason I do it this way is I push the battery connector end in. And the reason I do it that way is once you've pushed it down to the bottom, you can then see, if you look bottom left camera, the juice actually comes up through the central coil, you can see it there, and disperses itself. And then gravity and a little bit of sort of manipulation and squeezing of the condom cap at the bottom makes the juice spread out fairly evenly in the cartomizer. And I can see when it's full. And you do it the other way round, well, the first thing you have to do is leave the white cap on. And it's not very obvious what's going on if you put too much in or whatever. So I just find that that's the easiest way. Once I've taken off, hold that there so you can see what's going on. It does make a bit of a mess, as you can see this way, but you know, I think it does whichever. You need to give it a little wide down. Given that the white cap is never going to go back on this, in fact it's already in the bin, because I'll use a drip tip from here on in, that strikes me as the best way of making sure you've got it filled pretty evenly. So that's why I do it that way. Like I say, I don't think there is really any sort of right and wrong way of doing it. Shove it back on there. Now I didn't overfill that, so it shouldn't sort of gurgle and splutter and explode into my mouth, but that could be famous last words too. Take the button cap off. And that's nice. So, if I was stupid, I'd offer a prize for guessing what sort of juice that was I put in there. But I'm not, so I won't. So, the good old silver bullet with one of these dual coil cartomisers on it is nice. And I'm thinking at the moment that given that, like I say, £8.79 including postage, that's pretty comparable to what I can get 5 of the regular sized ones for delivered to my door. So and you get twice as much in them, so if they last as well as the standard size ones, I can see me using them. It all really depends on whether I start to prefer them to the tanks, because the tanks are doing it for me at the moment. They work rather well. So big sort of tank device for when you can. But if you need something you can put in your pocket, something like that, at the moment I'm using those. Maybe I'll switch to those, because I do like using devices like the screwdriver, the Icon, and they work on everything with the 510 fitting anyway, so I'm almost looking for a reason not to use them, to be honest. So let's put that down there. So that's it, the dual coil cartomisers. As I say, I got mine from mistyliquid.co.uk. I bought them with my own cash, and I may very well do it again when they've gone. What's next? Let's have a sting. Okay, now it's time for the last part of the Battle of the Tanks. So before I run the little VT that I made, we'll have a little reminder of where we were. Where is it? There it is. And this week we should have sound, which is always good. But I'm going to check. Yeah, we've got sound. That's good. It's basically neck and neck, isn't it? It's neck and neck. And I'm just looking at all the buttons here, and there's loads, and I'm clicking all the wrong ones, but I think you can see what you're supposed to be seeing. Yes, that looks good. Right, so we basically had the Integrity with, what was it, 3, 6, 9 points, the VapourMate with 10, and the UFS with 11 at the end of last week. So basically it's wide open. The pattern of the scores is starting to interest me, because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to stats and things like that. And I noticed that the UFS hasn't had 2 points. So this week I'm going to look at probably the most subjective category so far. We're going to look at value, see if you agree with me. here we are, the final instalment of my Battle of the Tanks comparison. Just to recap briefly, we've been looking at the Integrity from Dave's devices, the Golden Greek Telescopic Storm GGTS, and more specifically the UFS juice feeding module that fits on it, and then of course the VapeMate from Super T Manufacturing. Three quite pricey, what I would call high-end juice feed systems, and as we've seen over the last 5 episodes, each one has its strengths and weaknesses. And so the last thing we're going to look at to round this little series off is a value for money. Right, so let's get things started. Let's start with the VapeMate from Super T Manufacturing. So in terms of value for money, the first thing we need to know is how much did it cost? Well, at the time I'm recording this, somewhat frustratingly, Cloud9 Vaping site seems to be offline, so I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure that it cost me 54 quid. For your 54 quid, you get the little aluminium VapeMate itself, and Cloud9 Vaping shipped with some tubing, as I mentioned in one of the earlier episodes, to insert in the bottles, which is optional, but a nice touch. Came in a little velvet bag with 2 of the 5ml bottles, similar to the one that I've got on here, which are ideal for the purpose, and that's basically what you get in the kit. So 54 quid is, let's face it, it's a lot of money for a single piece. It is exquisitely finished. There are no flaws in the finish or in the threads. It looks really well made, as most Super T manufacturing stuff I've seen is, but it is rather a high price, and I do think that you're paying a bit for the Super T name, but that's okay. That's fair enough. In terms of what sort of value for money you get, the VapeMate has a quality that none of the other devices I'm looking at share, and that is, it's not tied to a particular device. I'm using this at the moment, as I normally do, or I have been recently, with a low resistance 901 atomizer and this drip shield, because what we spoke about before with the risk of it flooding a bit. But I can put that on any 901 device, but equally I can put it on any 510 device. It is very versatile, so that has to count for something when you're talking about value for money. It's quite an outlay, but it is very versatile. Next, we'll look at the GGTS and the UFS. Now, throughout this series, we've had to sort of keep things in context by looking at the device in conjunction, looking at the feed system in conjunction with the device that you're using it on. So last week I was talking about durability, and you know, the VapeMate didn't do too well purely because of what it's attached to. You don't have that problem with the UFS, plain and simply because it will only work with the GGTS. You can't use it on any other device. That might change in the future, but for now that's it. So when you're considering your value for money, you have to consider that you're not just paying the £65 from esigs.co.uk for the UFS. You also have to spend £104 on the GGTS on which to fit it. There's no denying the fact that the thing is extremely well made. The quality of the threads, the precision with which all the many intricate parts fit together, the solidity of it, the peace of mind it gives you, how solid it is. There's everything about this screams quality, but at a minimum cost of 170 quid, I expect quality. And finally, we're going to look at the integrity. Now, the integrity isn't made of high quality aircraft grade aluminium or stainless steel, or, and it's not nickel plated, it's a plastic box. So in the sense of, in one sense, you can look at it very simply and say it's a plastic box. And for the £68.99 it costs, that's a lot of money for a plastic box, because the VapeMate and the UFS are made of high quality materials. But the integrity is a little bit more than just a box mod electronic cigarette. It has a number of other features built into it which ultimately are going to save you money somewhere else. For example, via a USB socket on the bottom of the integrity, you can charge your battery. It is a battery charger in its own right. That means that I can charge the battery that's in here whilst using it as a pass-through. So £68.99, but I don't need to buy a battery charger. I simply just need to buy the integrity itself, a battery, and my juice. That's it. I'm good to go for as long as that battery will last. And atomizers, of course, like all of them. So there's just a final few thoughts on each device. I'm now going to score each of the devices according to their value for money. In third place, despite being a fantastic piece of kit, I'm going to go for the GGTS with the UFS. You can't do this without spending the full 170 quid plus batteries and charger and atomizers, which, you know, granted you need batteries and atomizers for any of the devices, but that is a hell of a high outlay. For me, it's worth spending. I do believe that it is worth it, but in terms of strict value for money, I think it's highly priced. In second place, I'm going to go for the VapeMate. It was tempting to put this into last position for the simple reason that it's 54 quid and you don't get a mod to put it on. But it kind of is compensated for by that, because we've all got, you don't need a mod, you can use an Ego battery, you could use a 510 if you wanted to, or a 901, but basically if it's got a 901 or 510 atomizer on it, the VapeMate will fit it, and that gives it a bit of versatility, which means you're going to get a bit more value from it. I've got it on quite a high-end mod, a silver bullet, with a fancy atomizer and a drip shield and all the rest of it, but that's because I choose to. So it probably therefore just slightly gets the edge over the GGTS and UFS. It is difficult to make the comparison. The GGTS UFS is a full e-cig and juice feed system. This is just a juice feed system, but I could have put it on an Ego battery for a total of less than 70 quid. That's 100 quid cheaper than the GGTS, and I've already given my ideas on you know, how they work functionally compared to each other. Is the GGTS and UFS £100 better? I think not. So I know I'm rationalising this, I'm justifying it to an extent, but I'm saying the VapeMate second place, 2 points. So that means that the integrity is this week's winner. In my opinion, it gives the best value for money. It's simple. You get, all you need is to shell out for your £68.99 for the device itself, an atomizer and a battery, put your juice in and go. You don't need chargers. You would need a USB cable. That wasn't supplied with mine. We've all got those, probably, you know, anybody that's using a digital camera, you know, you've probably already got it, you know. So in terms of a total solution, again, I think it's durable enough. It's not the prettiest thing. It's a box. Functionally, it works as well as either of the other systems. It represents the best value for money for me, and therefore it wins this week with 3 points. So back to the scoreboard, and we'll see how that all pans out. Thanks for watching. I knew when I set out to do this comparison that some of the comparisons were going to be quite difficult to do, and I knew that there probably wasn't going to be a runaway winner on the categories that I pretty arbitrarily just sort of jotted down 6 categories that seemed like a good idea at the time. But I promise you that when I started this, I genuinely did not realise that it would be a straight tie. They all got 12 points, and I promise I did. I know it looks really convenient, and it looks really sort of like I wimped out, but I didn't expect it all to come out the same. I expected it to be really close, because I knew from using the things that there were. I use all 3 probably about equally, depending on where I'm going, what I'm doing, how far I'm driving. You know, the integrity won that last one, and I'm pleased about that, because you know, this is the one I take with me when you're staying in hotels and stuff like that. If well, I'm not working at the moment, but when I'm working and I'm staying in a hotel, I'll typically have a laptop on quite late in my room, and it's just a case of hooking it up with a USB cable, and I know the battery will be charged again in the morning. It's just low hassle, and whilst I do tend to drag a whole load of kit around with me, it's a bit of a pain to get out the Trustfire TR01 charger for the 1860 650 batteries and what have you. Anyway, I thought that was a bit of fun anyway. I know that you could take any of those categories and you'll find a lot of people that would disagree with my assessment. But you know, it was supposed to be a bit of fun, and I think you know, we've had, let's face it, we've had a pretty sort of in-depth look, or certainly of my opinions of each of those devices. So if you were considering any of them, then you've got an idea of what I think of them now. So there we go. I'll probably package all of that up and put it on YouTube at some point, but it'll need a bit of sort of remixing and stuff, so it won't be tonight. Yeah, it should bore a few people to tears. Right, so there we go. It's a dead heat. On tonight's topic, the atomizer's going on this, I need to swap it. On tonight's topic, which was value for money, I stand by that. You know, it really is everything that you need is there. Don't need any other clobber or any other cost. Just go back to the jaw coil. We're gonna have now a sting. Let's do that. And there we go. So that brings me to the end of our scheduled programming for this evening. We do actually have a few minutes left. So I had planned to just give you a quick update on how I was getting on with these tanks, but I've kind of already covered that off when I was blabbering on at the beginning. So for the last couple of minutes, I have the chat session running on my iPad here. So if anybody has a question or anything about anything that I've discussed tonight, or anything vaguely e-cig related, shout it out, or type it in to be more precise. And I'll see if I can answer it for you. So, yes, Andy. But it's Y-O-U, as in you. That was easy. Where do you get your GGTS from? Well, that is a good question. I presume this is because they're continually out of stock at ecigs.co.uk. It's not technically correct. I believe that Imeo, who makes the things, has arrangements with the different sort of retailers that he uses, and asks them not to post overseas, so you can't get one from the US, for example. But a little bird did tell me that if you go to funstore.gr, if they have them in stock, they have been known to help out a bit. Failing that, there's always the classified sections. The UK Vapors Forum and Liberty Flights seem to have them occasionally second hand to buy or trade, so keep your eye on there if you can't find one. Have I tried the Smoke Tech dual coils? No, I haven't. I'm wondering actually if they are any different to the ones that I've got. Do you believe that they are? I didn't mention in the video because I wasn't that confident, but I was looking at the threads on the dual coil cartomizer compared to what I know are Bose. I look at the box they come in, which looks very like the way Bose ship these things from the factories. Quite often you'll find them in Cloud9 branded boxes and what have you, but generally speaking they come in these boxes, the regular Bose cartomizers, so I think the one I've got is Bose. I bet if I ask Fredo at Misty Liquid to confirm that, he would do so. So maybe I can do that for next week. Yours, like yours, you got 6. Oh right, well maybe they are something different. No, never heard of them. If well, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, I am currently unemployed, so I shan't be buying any. But if anybody wants to send me one to try, I'll gladly give you my opinion. Can you get 4.7 to 5 volts with the Omega or Silver Bullet? Well, it's difficult to do. It's difficult to get 5 volts from an Omega or a Silver Bullet. They're essentially the battery. I haven't got an Omega I had an Omega and I did actually really like it, but it was so similar to the Silver Bullet and I needed the money. Would you believe I sold my Omega to buy one of those bloody fog things that I looked at last week? Which would I rather have now, eh? Anyway, the battery chamber in the two devices is identical sized. Yeah, they're made by the same people, and they're sized ideally to take an 18650 or 2 CR123 batteries. So the 2 CR123s will give you 6 volts. The 18650 will give you 3.7 to 4.2 volts. I believe, who is it that sells them? I think it might be Moji Republic, I'm not sure. Do what they call a 5 volt battery that's an 18650 size, but it's basically 3 smaller batteries in a wrapper. They apparently don't last too well. I mean, I'd ask you the same question as I ask anybody that talks about 5 volts. You know, why? What do you want to do that for? Just get an atomizer with a lower resistance and use an 18650. They're plentiful, they're cheap, they're good value for money. Why not? You can get atomizers now at 1.5, 1.7, 2, 2.3 ohms. You know, if one of those in conjunction with a 3.7 battery doesn't hit it for you, then you probably want to go and get yourself a Darwin or something like that. Yeah, I've got a feeling they are NiCads as well. Steve has just pointed out there. I think they are. I looked at them and I thought, nah. I've actually got a 5 volt box mod that I use, and you know, you have to put like sort of higher resistance cartomizers on it, and I can replicate exactly the same sensation just by using a lower resistance carto on an 18650. So I don't bother. Am I going to be testing the Alpha Ultramax? Well, unless I either win the lottery, get a job, or somebody sends me one, I have no plans to be testing the Alpha Ultramax at this moment in time. If it makes me feel better, yeah, it does make me feel better that you're getting up at 4:30 and I shall just roll out of bed and across the landing at about 8:30. I'd be lying if I said any different, but to be honest with you, at this moment in time, I would rather have a job. And I agree, you know, I'm not being too fussy, but obviously I need to be able to pay my mortgage, so... No, I do not want any sort of happy vapor relief fund ideas. Thank you very much. I'm stocked up with liquid to last me until about Christmas time, and hardware well beyond that. So, so I'm going to be all right. The only thing that might suffer a bit, you might see a lot of repeats on the show, but no, I'm joking. That'll be just fine. I've actually got some new kit coming fairly soon. I've been promised a Revolution 2, which I'm really excited to get my hands on. I was a big fan of the original Revolution, and I've got one of those coming, you know, in the next couple of weeks to look at. And Jez was looking at the 510 tanks, the little ones, and so I'm going to be seeing the Janty version of those as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And also got some juice coming as well. I don't normally do juice reviews, but I was told that RY4 is dead, and I will switch to this once I've tasted it. But that's a surprise. I should be able to, I should have that in my hand in time to do something for next week. So. I could sell you the GGTS, but I'm not yet at that desperate. Yeah, me too, Dave. Yeah. So, well, it's a bold claim, but a UK vendor. I can name who it is. I think it's Ben P, UK e-liquid. PM me last night, I think it was, the wee small hours of this morning, and said once I've tried this juice he's sending for us to review. Then we won't want RY4 anymore. So I said to him that's a very bold statement. So we're going to put that one to the test. But if it's half as good as he reckons, then it sounds like it'll be worth having. No, definitely don't need a whip round. Guys, that takes us over actually. I've overshot my hour, so thank you for helping me blag the last few minutes of that. And thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Don't forget that we've got Hi-Fi Stud. Dave Dawn is up at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And then we got Cat, as ever, on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Where we all watch with envy Cat's technical what's it, aptitude. The quality of the effects and stuff that she's using in her show these days are putting us all to shame. and if I had a Mac, I'd copy. So it's probably just as well that I don't, because that'd look terrible. But I've really been enjoying Cat shows just lately, and same goes for Jez. I thought he was brilliant again last week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So that's what we've got. Andy and myself back next Sunday with more stuff, including this RY4 slaying juice. Until then, that's your lot. So thanks for watching, and good night. Hi, this is Dave. Just does what it says on the tin.